Hello, technology world. This is your host, Gabriel Smith, and this webcast is going to be about WordPress categories, pages, posts, and menus. Now, the reason I decided to do this webcast is because I recently started using WordPress maybe 3 weeks ago. And it has been a challenge for me trying to navigate WordPress and get used to using it. I'm a Unix guy. I don't really know that much about WordPress. So you may ask, if you don't know anything about WordPress, why would you do a webcast on it? Well, this webcast and several other webcasts to come about WordPress is not necessarily to relay accurate information as much as it is to get people talking about it and just try to build up my own personal WordPress community and just have folks that I could share the stuff that I've discovered in WordPress. So with that said, the scope of this webcast is going to be my limited experience with WordPress, specifically as it applies to category, pages, posts, and menus. I left out menus on this slide. Now, the audience for this webcast is basically anyone who wants to discuss WordPress. I put on this slide learn about WordPress, but I can't really say that because I don't have the experience in WordPress. So again, this videos and probably several other videos to come, they may show my ignorance about WordPress, but the real objective is just to get people talking about it, and maybe some of the information that I throw out here could help someone. So we have a few objectives. One, we want to kind of get people talking about categories. We want to get people talking about pages. We want to get people talking about posts, and we want to get people talking about menus. This is probably a good time to announce a website that I'm working on, unixsystemresource.com. And the purpose of this website is to kind of display written information or a written component of the videos that I've been producing, or the webcasts that I've been producing. Maybe you're at work, but maybe you want to get access to some of that same information that you've seen in my videos, where you can find it on that website, in case you're not allowed to watch videos at work or wherever you are. And maybe you're working with a limited internet connection, and the speed isn't what you like it to be, so you just want to look at the information in text. So this website would help with that. Another purpose of the website is to discuss news, trends, and events in technology. And now these discussions are pretty much my opinions, and you know what they say about opinions. So they're not typically the information that you would find in my informational videos, my tutorials. It's really just my opinion on certain technology trends and news. So I think I've done a few opinions or a few videos about Ubuntu, Windows, and things of that nature, about their future, and also BlackBerry. And these are opinions. They aren't. You don't take them for fact, but it's just fun to have dialogue and discuss things like that. So you can find these type of things on my website as well, under the section tech opinions and things of that nature. But overall, I really want to get people sharing information about Unix. There's already enough sharing, but I want more sharing of information about Unix. And I like to see people talk about different technology trends and give their perspective. Okay, so with that said, let's talk about some of the WordPress mechanics. And one of the mechanics that we can look at here is categories. And a category is basically a mechanism used to classify posts. I can't really think of any other way to define categories, simply because they're so related to posts that I think it's its only purpose. So basically, you create categories so you can organize and classify your posts. Now, pages, on the other hand, pages are mechanisms that you use if you want to create static information on your site. Things like your contact information, your location, anything that wouldn't change on a regular basis and would almost be timeless, you may want to put in the page instead of a post. Now, posts are basically ongoing information that you would provide about a particular subject, and these posts will appear in reverse chronological order. A menu is basically a tool that you use to organize categories and pages. Menus are pretty much at the top of the hierarchy of the WordPress mechanisms or tools, if you will. And speaking of hierarchy, this is the way I see it. I'm not sure if other WordPress users see it. If there's an expert out there who's saying something different, and you want to take that person's word over mine. But the way that I see it is that a hierarchy is that menus are at the top, and second in line are pages and categories. They're on the same level to me. And then at the bottom you have post. Now for me, primarily I will be using the categories to manage my post or to classify my post, and occasionally I shall put post under any given page, but for the most part most of my posts will be organized under a specific category. So with that said, let me just show you my website here. So if you go to the home page, the menu, you can see basically I have the this is actually a page, and it's static information that I don't think will change in the near future. I actually may make some updates with it simply because this isn't the final draft, but once that's done, that'll be it. And everything else is a category. So basically I have a category for Linux, which I've called Red Hat, Fedora, and CentOS, a category for Solaris, and I also have a category for the tech's opinion. And again, the tech opinion, just to give you information, is just my random opinion about the things that are going on in technology, whether it be news, trends, so on and so forth. Now, if we take a look at the dashboard here, and I think when you set up WordPress for the first time, you may run into the challenge which I have had, and that's basically figuring out how to organize things on your site so that it looks coherent and congruent. And it was a challenge for me, and I really could not get over the challenge in a reasonable amount of time, at least what I think is a reasonable amount of time. But this is what I found. The first thing that you want to do when you choose your host provider and you choose to pay for the service and everything, the first thing you want to do is set up categories. And here you can see the different categories that I've set up. After you've set up your categories, you may want to go ahead and post something. And once you set up your post, you can basically specify what post you want to appear under what specific category. So for the post for Fedora desktop recording or screencasting, I selected the category Red Hat, Fedora, and CentOS. I could have selected multiple categories, or I could have selected another categories. But basically, after you've typed out your post, and I actually use LibreOffice or Google Docs to actually create the post, and then I just cut and paste everything into there. And the next thing you want to do is just organize the post so that it appears on a particular category. Now, after you've created after you've created categories and you've created posts, you may want to create a few static pages. One of the static pages that I'm using at the moment is welcome. There's also a static page for tech opinion, which we'll get into later. But once that's done, you would going to go to appearance, menus, and this is where you can set up a menu. So at the moment I just have one basic menu that I'm using as my primary menu, and with this menu I've organized everything so that it just kind of falls into place as you see on this screen here. So this menu called Unix is actually represented here. Everything you see here is basically set up in this menu. There's one thing that I'm having trouble with, which is when you look at Ubuntu here, and it actually doesn't show up unless I click on something else, then it pops up. But that's a webcast for another time and not now. But however, you come to the appearance and then you go to menus, and the first thing I did is that I went to pages and I pulled over the welcome page. Then after that, everything else I pulled over were actually categories. Okay, so now the categories, if you, for example, you click on the Linux category, which is Red Hat, Fedora, and CentOS, you'll see that there's a post there called Fedora Desktop Recording or Screencasting. Notice that post doesn't show up here. Like I actually could have went to the post and I could have clicked it and dragged it over. And then what I could have done is kind of make it a subcategory. But the reason I chose not to do that, because if everything goes the way I plan, I could end up with like maybe thousands of posts. And what this would do is actually every time you hover over the Red Hat, Fedora, CentOS menu, you would start to see all the different subcategories. And I didn't want that. I just kind of wanted a running blog. So I decided not to move in the posts individually, but yet go under the post, and then in each individual post I decided what category I wanted to show up at, and then it'll just be kind of a running blog. Now for the tech opinions, I actually set it up so that there's this running blog of all the opinions that I've done on different technology. And I also set up my welcome page. Now, the way that you set these up are actually a kill two birds with one stone situation. And you do that by going to Settings, Reading. Yes, I want to leave this page. And then you can select to have your front page display all your latest posts, or you can select to have a static page. And the front page that I selected is welcome, and then a post page I chose was the text opinion. So this is pretty much it for this presentation. Hopefully I've provided some information that you found useful. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, and remember, I really don't have that much experience with WordPress, and I'm just kind of creating an open forum, hoping to get people to talk about WordPress, and maybe if they've had the same experience that I've had. But if you have any questions, comments, concerns, send me an email, busy386@gmail.com. Thank you so much for your time.